In the beginning, we see our Lucy, who has finally tried her best to make that boy understand that she doesn't like him. But that boy, Fumian, he begins to cry, and at a time, our main hero, Duan, arrives, and upon seeing him, he decides to leave. And then Duan asks Lucy to not to reject a boy like this directly, and he asks her to be a little softened when it comes to rejection. And then we see Lucy's friend who is ignoring her over and over, and Lucy doesn't know the reason. She tries to talk to her, but she doesn't say much. And then we see the sportster asked Lucy to participate in sport too, so she had to. While we see how Lucy finally understands that Lucy's friend also likes the same person who wants to pursue her. That's why she understands. Now we see how Lucy, she also has decided to take part, and then we see Sangyan and Duan, they both are there. They both cheer her up and says, okay, well done. And then we see how Duan also gives her a hat. And finally, when Lucy was preparing, Sangyan was taking her pictures, and at a time, Duan says not to bully Sanji. And then we see finally when the race was going to start, Lucy fell over and over. But at a time, Duan and Sangyan cheered her up, but she again fell down, and this time she got hurt badly. Then upon seeing that, Duan decided to help her, but at a time Sir arrived and says that aren't you Lucy's brother? Then who is he? Then they both said, Lucy abruptly said that he is my father. And after hearing that, the Sangyan becomes angry, and he gave Lucy to Duan immediately, and he left. After some time, we see Duan taking care of Lucy, and Lucy becomes happy when she sees him so caring. Finally, Sangyan comes, and when Sangyan was taking Lucy, she sees how Duan was helping other girls too, and she becomes sad. And then we see Sangyan who gives Lucy a chocolate, so she becomes happy again. We see again Lucy in her classroom, and she tries to ask Sangyan to take her, but Sangyan was busy, so he sends Duan over there. Then we see again Lucy's friend who has taken Lucy somewhere, and at that time we see Duan who is worried about her, so he asks God about Lucy, and finally God tells him that he saw Lucy going with a girl. And then we see Lucy asking her over and over where she is taking her, but at a time girl doesn't say much. Then finally she says that you are not a good friend because you doesn't support me. And then we see how that girl takes Lucy into bullies group, and how those bullies bully her Lucy, and after seeing that, Lucy becomes terribly afraid. Now she doesn't know how to get rid of them. Those bullies girls takes every penny of money from Lucy, and now she is in a terrible state. After that, her friend apologizes to her, but she says that you are not a good friend, and from this moment onward you are not my friend. And after saying that, she decides to take her leave. While she was leaving, she was limping because she also got beaten up by those bullies. And then we see when she sees Duan, she suddenly begins to cry, and she tells him everything what happened to her after another scene. And then we see Duan, who is now very worried about her, and he decides to take her immediately. And then he also tells her to tell everything to her parents, her brothers, and to her school teachers. And then he takes her through a great way, so she becomes happy. Next day, then we see how everyone has come into Lucy's school, so they'll be able to talk to that police girl. And then we see Lucy leads the way and she stares out with Sangyan's friend. And then we see how Sangyan tries to make them understand, but they don't do that. So at a time, Tuan comes forward and he also becomes angry. Here our drama ends. How do you like it?